I can't move. Hold on. Okay. Uh-oh. There's books everywhere. That was rough. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my April wrap up plus my May TBR. I have a lot on my TBR this month. I read 12 I think books in April, and then I DNF'd one book. I'm gonna give you all my thoughts and then also my TBR for May. We'll get into absolutely everything, but first I want to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Book of the Month. If you haven't heard of Book of the Month, they're a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers, and their mission is to help promote new and emerging authors, but also help readers find books that they love. I personally have found a ton of books, some 5-star reads of mine from Book of the Month. What's amazing about them is they have a skip policy, so it's risk-free. You can skip any month at any time and you will not be charged. Plus, they have the best price for new release hardcover fiction. You can get your first book for just $5 with the code FLOWERS. So I will put that in the description if you want to go back to it, if you want to check it out. So it always comes in this amazing blue box. I got 2 of the month's choices. The first one is The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brommer. This is basically about a woman who has a stronger connection with the death and those that are dying than anyone that's living, which is a really interesting concept. And she spends so much time with death that she has no real life of her own. So the final wishes of one woman that she spends her last days with sends her on this road trip across the country to uncover this lost love story. So again, the concept of this book and just the summary of it is so intriguing to me. I cannot wait to read this. I also got a mystery thriller, which wait till you hear the summary of this one. It's called The Last Word by Taylor Adams. Basically, it's about this woman who lives alone, very isolated, and she reads this novel and she writes a 1-star review on it. And then strange events occur. The author of the book is bickering with her online about her 1-star review, and she's like, is this author stalking me? I don't know. I think it's so interesting. I cannot wait to read this and see what the whole story is about and how it ends. But yeah, these were the 2 books that I got this month. One last thing about Book of the Month that they're now doing is audiobooks. So if you haven't heard, they launched audiobooks this past month. Any member of Book of the Month can use their credit for a book of the month or an audiobook for the month, and you can download the Book of the Month app to purchase and listen to your audiobooks on there. So head over to bookofthemonth.com and use code FLOWERS to get a discounted price on your first hardcover book or audiobook. Okay, back into the video. Into the books that I read in April, starting off with This Woven Kingdom by Tahera Mafi. So this is a fantasy romance. This is about, honestly, this was really hard to describe when I was reading this for a video. So in this world, there are 2 different types of people. There's Clay and Jin, and they kind of have gone against each other for a very long time. And Eliza, I'm pretty sure, is a servant. She's a long-lost heir to an ancient Jin kingdom, but she can't really do anything about it, so she is working as a servant. And then you have the prince, Cameron, who is one day going to become king because his grandfather's passing it down to him, but he needs to be married, and they cross paths, and then things unfold from there. I ended up rating this a 3.5 star. I was gonna give it 4, but then I was like, I don't know if I like it that much, because after reading it, I haven't really thought about it all month. I haven't really recommended it or anything. I think I need to read the second one. This is a duology right now, but it's gonna become a trilogy. I think the 3rd one's coming out soon. I like the way that she writes. As the same author as the Shatter Me series, and she writes very poetically, very lyrically. It flows very well, but the beginning of this literally felt like I was reading another language. Like I couldn't figure out the politics, what was going on, the storyline, literally anything for a while. It took a lot to get used to and kind of had to digest a lot of it before trying to figure out what was even going on. So after figuring out kind of the basis of what was going on, it did get better. I did like when they first interacted and they kind of had their moments together, their scenes, and then I got more into the action and stuff. Like that was fun. I really liked the ending of it. The first half of it was just kind of hard for me, but I do want to read the second one because this ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger that I would like to see get resolved and see how that turns out. So I do think I would continue reading it, but it wasn't like my favorite read of the month. All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. It's about this couple, husband and wife, whose toddler went missing in the middle of the night, and now I think it's like a year later, and she is trying to figure out what happened, and she kind of gave up all hope of figuring it out because like detectives and stuff are saying it's like a closed case, whatever. She ends up going on this like true crime podcast. I'm working with the podcaster to kind of uncover new things and figure out really what happened and go back into her memory and see if she remembers anything from that night, which I think in theory sounds really interesting. But reading her writing for the first time, this is my first Stacey Willingham book, I didn't really love the way that the story was told. It felt very dragged out. It felt like nothing was really getting to a point. You know how there's like little mini plot twists or like mini things coming out within a thriller or mystery? Like those are my favorite things that happen in thrillers and mysteries. I just feel like it's so much more fun when there's like a lot more to keep you on your toes and keep you guessing. This one, from like beginning to halfway, I like guessed the whole thing of what was going on. It was nothing like crazy to me. I did like the way way that she wrapped it up and ended it and kind of revealed everything. But getting there, I didn't love it. It's a good read. I just don't think it's like a mystery thriller that I enjoy and that I like to read. But it wasn't bad. I think I gave this also 3.5 stars. It was good. It wasn't bad. It's just not my favorite type of book in this genre. Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is my first Marissa Meyer book, and this is a dystopian fantasy. This was so much fun. I gave this 4 stars. This is about the anarchists and the renegades, and they kind of go against each other, but the main character Nova is part of the anarchists, and the renegades are like the government, and they're superheroes, and they kind of bring people in to become a renegade, and it's really, really cool because everyone has superhero abilities. Like Nova does, her anarchist people do, the renegades do. But there's one character, Adrian, who's part of the renegades, and he has this like undercover type of superhero that no one knows who he is, and Nova's trying to figure out who he is. He's trying to figure out who Nova is, like her pen name for her anarchist superpower. Like no one knows who anyone's true identity is. But then you have Adrian and Nova, this little like romance going on between them. It's so subtle, it's so small, but I loved it so much, and it was just so fun to go along. There's a lot of action. It felt like this could be a movie, and I would totally watch it. It ended on like a little cliffhanger, so I have the second one, and I need to read it soon because I want to get back into this world. It was so fun. I love a good dystopian book. And then I DNF'd Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is by Heather Fawcett. The cover is so amazing, beautiful. I love the way it feels like an encyclopedia. Like I'm gonna open this to being an encyclopedia. I think again this summary and in theory is really cute. It's a warm, cozy fantasy, but I got about halfway, maybe a little over halfway, and I was just like, I can't get through this. This is not like the time or place to read this. I think I need to save this for a cozier month, being that it's a cozy fantasy. When I was reading this, I was in the mood for high stake fantasy, a lot of action, a lot of what Renegades was giving me, but this was just very, again, cozy, and like nothing crazy was happening. It's basically about Emily, and this is like her journal that she writes in on her journey to find this one last species of fairies to complete her encyclopedia and complete her findings. So she goes to this one little town or whatever, and she's staying there to complete this, and in her journal just writing about what happens day to day, what she's finding. But then her coworker slash co-work enemy comes in and kind of like screws up what she's doing, and it's kind of like them going along this adventure together now. It's just there's no high stakes, nothing really crazy is going on. It felt like it was dragging on. I think it would be really cute. I think I would really enjoy it more if it wasn't this time of year. That is why I DNF'd it, but it wasn't bad. You have to be in the mood for a book like this. Also, I'm sorry about the lighting. It's not sunny today. I just came home from Florida yesterday, and I'm like right back to the gloomy weather. So the lighting might change a bunch in this video. Usually I just film with natural lighting. I gotta get me, what are they called? Anyway, after that I read The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This is her newest new adult, not young adult, new adult novel, romance, contemporary romance, rom-com, that whole thing. This I read between reading so many fantasies. I mean, not so many, maybe like a couple. Okay, but I needed a book like this is what I'm trying to say. I gave this 4.2 stars. I read this so quick and I enjoyed it so much. I needed a book like this. I needed a fast-paced rom-com-y book, and she delivered so well with this one. I absolutely loved it. This is about Hallie and Jack, who met at the night of Jack's sister's wedding. He's the best man, and Hallie is the bartender of their wedding, so they spend the night together and then they go their separate ways. But they both end up on a dating app, and they find each other on there, and they make this kind of like love wager to go on dates with different people, but like at the same place, and kind of discuss it, debrief it after. Then I really enjoyed it. I loved the writing and just their banter, and I loved this book because halfway through the book the plot changes a little bit because there's something that Hallie needs to do, so Jack goes along with her, and I absolutely just loved it so much. Like I needed a book like this. If you want a rom-com, cheesy, upbeat, fast pace, not too cheesy, but like it's not really realistic, but it was so cute, it was so good. I really recommend this if you need like just a book like this. It delivered. I'm gonna come back when it's sunny out because it's literally bothering me so much. I don't think I'm gonna be able to film without thinking about how dark it is in my room, so I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. The lighting got so bad and I was getting so frustrated. It was like dark in my room, like actually so dark. I know you guys don't care. I have to tell you anyway because I was so frustrated. I left, I got some Starbucks, got my matcha. I come home and it's a little bit later out. I switched positions. I guess just that little corner wasn't doing it. I'm out of breath. I don't know why. I'm in my pajamas still. It's one of those mornings, okay? Nothing is going well. I'm feeling frustrated, but I'm ready to get back into the books that I read in March, April. April. We've gone through the first few and now we are on some fantasies. The Serpent and Wings of the Night, and then there's The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent, and then in between these books is Six Scorched Roses, so that's the novella. It's about like 180 pages, maybe, something like that. First we have The Serpent and Wings of the Night. I gave this 4 stars. This is basically about Oriah, who when she was very, very little was found by one of the vampire kings. He's the king of the Night Court and they live in this vampire world, but Oriah is human. Kind of raises her as his own daughter. They become really close. He trains her as she's growing up so that she can join the Kajari. And the Kajari is this, think like Hunger Games, but like with vampires, and it's kind of like a fight to the death between 5 different trials that they give you, and you kind of have to fight your way through it. But Oriah, again, is human and she's going to join this vampire-filled tournament. And by the end of it, if you win, you get like 1 wish granted by like the highest kind of goddess, I think it is, and she can wish you like literally anything you want. What I love about Carissa's writing, it is so fast-paced. I feel like she does such an incredible job of pacing, because sometimes going into a fantasy, it's confusing. It's like you have to kind of figure out the history and the politics and everything before understanding it. But the way she writes, as soon as you get into the story, like it's written so well and it's written so easy to understand and grasp the concepts that she's throwing at you, being that's like a whole new world, whole new characters and powers and stuff. But she does such a good job of just like nothing's confusing. It's just a fun story to go along with. But you get like the action, the fast pace, all the trials of the Kajari, and then you get her meeting Rain and they form this little alliance during the tournament. But Oriah is very hesitant. She's like, why does he want an alliance with me? Like, can I trust him? So you get the slow burn of her and Rain throughout this, but then you get the fast-paced, action-packed storyline. It's so good. The ending was so good. But then I went into Six Scorched Roses, so I read that on my Kindle. All of Chris's books are actually Kindle Unlimited, which is really, really amazing. But Six Scorched Roses is about Lilith and I forgot his name, but basically it's this short little, obviously novella story about the history of these 2 people, where Lilith's place where she grew up it's dying basically. Her sister's dying, her town is dying, her city is dying, and she's like this doctor and she's trying to figure out a cure to really fix this. So she meets the main guy and she needs to use him to figure out how to help her town and keep her sister alive, and they strike this little deal going on, so you get them connecting. What's really interesting is it's a novella, it's really short, but like you could feel the connection between them. It's crazy how much she could put into a novella. I did give this 3.5 stars because for what it was as a novella, she did such a good job. The writing of it and like making you feel for the characters. But these 2 show up in The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is the second book. This is a duet and it's like the ending of this, but it's gonna be like this whole world series where there's different courts in this like vampire world, and it's gonna be other books about the different courts and different characters there. But Lilith and the guy from the Six Scorched Roses turn up in The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which you don't need to read the novella to go into this, but it helps when they show up, like knowing their past and their history, because they are pretty prevalent characters in this. So then you go into this, and this is a whole different story because this takes place after the Kajari. The first book is all like the tournament and stuff, and it's so interesting because this is very politics based, and you get like the politics, you also get like the romance still going on, you get action, a lot of action. But I personally am not a fan fave of politics within fantasies. I enjoy it to an extent. I don't want the whole fantasy to be about politics, you know, it's just not fun for me. This though, the politics was so fun, like I loved it so much, and it's just her writing is just so amazing. Like I highly recommend, if you want to start reading fantasy or if you need a new fantasy books, like just read Carissa's books because they are so good. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved this so much. I stayed up till like I think 4 a.m. finishing this book. I couldn't put the end down. I think that's why I gave it 4.5 and not 5, because I just want a little bit more from the ending. Or maybe not. Maybe I can't figure out my feelings on the ending of this book because it's like the last with Oriah and Rain and like this part of the world, which makes me a little upset. So I don't know. I'm conflicted there, but so worth it, so amazing. Then I read Daisy Hates Too by Jessa Hastings. This is the last book that's out right now in the Magnolia Parks world. It's not the last one forever, but it is the last one out right now. So I was so hesitant to read this because I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to have no books left right now to read from my favorite world ever. And the way that the book before this ended, I knew that this was going to be a rough one to read. So basically, Daisy Hates is about Daisy and Christian's romantic story, but then you also get their point of views and Daisy's brother Julian's point of view. So there's 3 point of views throughout this book, and it's characters that take place in the Magnolia Parks world. So you get Magnolia Parks books, and then you get Daisy Hates books. You don't have to read the Daisy Hates to read Magnolia Parks, and you don't have to read Magnolia Park, 3 Daisy Hates, but reading them in order really helps the story go along and helps the story flow. When you go into Daisy Hates, it's at the same timeline as Magnolia Parks, just in these characters' point of view. So it's like the same things that happened in Magnolia Parks, just in a different point of view from these characters, and this one I knew was gonna break me because you get a lot more of Julian, who's Daisy's brother, and I really wanted more of him from the first Daisy Hates. The first Daisy Hates I gave 4 stars. I didn't absolutely love it, but I just loved her writing and I loved the new storyline, new characters. This I gave 5 stars. This is like seriously like a work of art. The cover, the story, the characters, the writing, everything about this is absolutely perfect. It tore me up throughout the whole book. I don't think there's a page on here that's not annotated. I'm not kidding. You definitely can't see any of my annotations, but not one page that doesn't have an underline. I also tabbed it. They're clear little tabs, so you probably can't see either, but everything about this was just so amazing. I loved seeing Julian's point of view of what happened in Magnolia Parks. I liked that Christian and Daisy's relationship was getting more figured out, I guess, in this one, because the first one was a little iffy for me between them, but now like so good. The ending, Jessa knows how to tear you up. Like the pain I felt at the end of this, it just, I still feel it. So amazing, incredible, phenomenal masterpiece, work of art. I'm obsessed. If you guys didn't know already, I'm obsessed with all of the books from Magnolia Parks. If you've been here before, you know I need to stop talking about it, but I'm not gonna because it's my favorite thing in the world. After that, I read Flawless by Elsie Silver. I saw this series going around so many places. This is basically like a small town country cowboy romance. I gave this book 4 stars. This is about Rhett and Summer, and Summer's father is the manager agent of Rhett, who's this like cowboy bull rider type of thing, and Summer works for her father, and Rhett's reputation is kind of on the downfall. Is her name Summer? Yeah. So Summer's father puts her on the job to kind of babysit Rhett for the next few months. So she moves into the big ranch where Rhett lives with his family. And what I loved about this is you get like the country vibe. Like it's so prevalent in these books. Like it really is. And they live on this big ranch together. The father, Rhett and his 2 brothers, Rhett's brother's son. Like it's this huge family vibe that she's thrown into, and she's a city girl. So it's so good. And it's like a little enemies to lovers because he's like, I don't need a babysitter. I'm like too old for this. Like I know how to handle myself. And she's like, I'm listening to my father. I'm following you around, like this is how this is gonna work. And they're kind of like forced proximity, forced to be together, and it's just, her writing is so good. It's so fast paced. It's, the banter is really good. It's really entertaining. It's nothing like too deep or anything. It's just like a really good feel good country boy romance, and it put me right into a country era. Like I want cowboy boots, I want a cowboy hat. Really good. Then I tried to read another, or didn't try to, I did read another Stacey Willingham, yes, book, A Flicker in the Dark. I saw these books going around more recently, and I gave this 3.75 stars. It's about this girl who back in the day, 6 girls from her town went missing, and they put away her father for this. He was like the culprit, and her life was kind of ruined from that because her father's accused of being a serial killer, of killing 6 innocent girls. So now it's flash forward to the future. She's grown up and a girl goes missing. One of her patients goes missing. She's a psychologist, she's one of those. But it's 20 years later, and she's like this eerie feeling that these girls are going missing in the same kind of way that it did back then. She's like trying to figure out, like, is this with her father? Is this person killing these girls to show me something? Like something is going very wrong. It's a weird feeling. But again, I had the same feeling I got when I read, what's the other one? All the Dangerous Places. It wasn't really to the point. I felt like it was dragging on just so much. It didn't leave me on the edge of my seat. I wasn't trying to really figure out what was happening. I guessed one of the main points 40 pages into the book, so if that says anything. The only thing is I do like the way she ends her books and wraps it up and reveals things. Getting there, it's just, I feel like there was just, I didn't need to read all that. But it's not bad. That's the thing. Like it's a good mystery thriller. I'm sure so many people do enjoy this and would enjoy this, and I would recommend it. But personally, I didn't like it. I don't know. I'm so like conflicted on her books too. Like I just don't know how I feel. I don't think I would read another one of her books, but I can see why so many people like them. I don't know. Then I read the next book in the Chestnut Spring series. This is Heartless, but this is about Rhett's brother Cade and Summer's best friend Willa. So Cade, like I said, has a son. So he's a single parent. He's like 38. I think he's in his late 30s, and he needs a nanny. He's trying to find one, and Summer puts her best friend Willa up to the task. And Willa is this like free spirit, just like upbeat, outgoing personality, and Cade is very grumpy. Like, I just want a nanny to babysit my kid. Like, I don't want anything else. So he can't find one. So again, Willa becomes the nanny, and he sees the relationship grow between his son and Willa doing such a good job with his son. obviously. And it was really sweet to see that and see him as a father figure. And I don't really love kids in books, I say this all the time, but the way this was written, the kid, I think his name was Luke, he was so cute. He was so sweet. He wasn't like overpowering the storyline or the relationship, being that this is basically about her nannying his son. But then Willa and Kate are just like complete opposites of each other. She's 25, she's still figuring out her life. Their dynamic together was so good because she would like tease him and like all this stuff, and I really enjoyed them together. And I loved the way she wrote. Again, it's so fast paced. It's just the banter is so amazing. The storyline is so fun to go along. And this one I felt like was a little bit more deeper than the first one, so I gave this 4.5 stars. I didn't give it a 5 star just because I feel like it wasn't a 5-star read. I also didn't love the ending of it. Not my favorite. If you've read it, you know what happens. I don't love that, but it was really good. And you get Summer and Rhett in this story as well. Not a lot of them, but you get kind of like crumbs and pieces of them because Willa's best friend, Rhett's brother, whatever. I love the series so much. Wait a second. I read this little book and I forgot to write it down in my monthly reads. I actually read this book while I was reading The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King because it was very long. It wasn't dragging. I needed to take breaks between, and I think that helped a lot because it's a thicker book. And I just need something short, sweet, to the point between. And I did read this book. I've had it on my shelf for a very long time. This book is like 2-something pages. It's called Fool Me Twice by Carrie Aarons. And what happens is this girl's best friend ends up passing away from cancer. And before she passes away, they write this little bucket list that she wanted to do before she passed away. She didn't get to finish that bucket list. So her best friend in the whole entire world ends up trying to complete the list for her. And on that list is get revenge on Lincoln Kolb. She ends up going to college. Lincoln Kolb is there. She has to get revenge because something happened in the past between her best friend and Lincoln, and while she's there, they're connecting and it's not going as she planned. It's a very like interesting story. I feel like the whole premise of her getting revenge on a guy for her best friend who is now dead, but ending up falling in love with him and like having these thoughts of like how her friend would feel, felt very weird to read about because I'm like, girl, end it. If you really want to honor your best friend, don't do this. It just felt weird on that part, and then the part between their relationship was weird because it felt just very physical. Like it didn't feel like anything else. It was very interesting how much physicality was in this book, being how short it was, and then them falling for each other. I don't know. It is short and sweet book. If you just want a quick little romance story, nothing really too crazy, I would recommend it. It goes so quick. But clearly I did forget that I even read this book. It's not one I'll remember forever. It's nothing to write home about. The last book I read in April, yes, April, is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I was so excited about this book because I was in the mood for small town romance, and it was after I read Heartless, so like the small town, little country vibe was really doing it for me. So this is about Amelia, who's actually a pop star in Nashville under the name Ray Rose. One day, she was watching one of her favorite movies of all time, When in Rome with Audrey Hepburn. She gets this huge epiphany and she's like, I need to flee. I need to go to Rome like Audrey. And she goes to the closest Rome that there is. So she goes to Rome, Kentucky. She's driving there. She's ready to spend like I think a week or a few weeks there before she goes on tour, and her car breaks down on Noah's property, and Noah comes out to help her. And Noah is this small town. He's lived there all his life. He works at the pie shop his grandmother gave to him. He has 3 sisters. One works at a flower shop next door. It's really cute. And her car breaks down, and while it's getting fixed, she stays with him. He's like, I don't need you in my life. You're leaving. This is not gonna work out, obviously. Like, we'll have some space between us. You can stay with me, but you're leaving soon. Like, we'll never work out. And she has no idea how to go about a small town because she is so out of touch with anything because she's a pop star in a city and doesn't know how to do anything on her own. So while she's there, she's kind of learning more about herself and learning about a small town and like being around people and not having everyone do everything for her. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was really cute. I loved how into the small town. I love small towns when it's like all the community gets together, everyone knows each other. It's just so sweet. Like, I want to live in this small town. I also really loved Noah like so much. I love him. I love his family dynamic. I just love him. Them together was very interesting because he is just like small town grumpy, like no relationships, and she is like upbeat pop star. Very interesting dynamic. I loved the ending of it. It was very sweet romance. I don't know why I said sweet like 18 times. Those are all of the books that I read in April. I had a really good reading month. I had fantasy, mystery, romance. I had a lot of genres, lots of different types of books, which I love. Now let's get into my very long TBR. I don't know what mood I'm in, and I'm not really planning the books that I want to read this month too precisely. Like, these are the books that I want to just choose from as the month goes on. Like, these are the ones I feel like I want to get through. The first book I don't have just yet. I mean, we are into May and I'm gonna read it soon. It's Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book is our book club book of the month. So if you want to join us to read Happy Place together, you can in the link in the description. It's on Patreon. It's a monthly subscription, but we talk in the Discord all the time. We have daily chats about the book and then just little other chats, but I'm also gonna vlog myself reading it and post that at the end of the month. So, like chatting about the book, updates, annotations, just like literally all my thoughts on the book. I'm gonna start doing that for all of the books I'm reading with everyone during the month if I haven't read them yet. If you want to join, if you want to see that video, if you want to chat with us, come join us. So that is the first book on my TBR. I want to read that one soon just so that I could join in on some chats. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is the book that comes right after When in Rome. It literally just came out and I just heard about it and I was so excited because I just read When in Rome and I'm so excited to read about Annie, who is Noah's sister and Amelia's bodyguard. In the flower shop she works at. It's gonna be so cute. Also this cover is just perfect. He has tattoos. I'm so excited. Then I have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This is her new book that just came out. I'm obsessed with the cover. I love any kind of pink summery covers. It's so cute. I don't know what this is about. I think it's a second chance. I just know I want to read it and I'm excited to read it because I read Every Summer After, her first book that came out. I think it was last year, but I want to read this because I really enjoyed her writing in that book and I'm excited to see how this one is. I literally have no idea what it's about, but I'm excited. Sticking with some romances, Indigo Ridge by Daphne Perry. I really want to read this because I've been feeling small town romances. I've been feeling the country vibe, but this one makes because I heard it's a romance but also a mystery. It's also a series. I'm really excited. Again, no idea what it's about. I love to go into books like kind of blind, so I just heard that it's really good and I'm very excited because of the small town vibes that I'm now in the mood for. Then along with my romance, I do still have Final Offer on my TBR. This has been on my TBR since it came out. I don't know why I just can't get to it, but I'm really hoping this month I will get to it. I think it's because it's so thick and I'm just like, why is a romance so thick? And also there's a kid in here. But I heard it's people's fan fave out of all of the other Dreamland Billionaire series books. This is about Callahan, I think the youngest brother, and I think this is also Second Chance, so we shall see. Then I have Yours Truly. This is the book that comes after Part of Your World by the same author. You don't have to read Part of Your World to read this, I'm pretty sure, but it's about the main character in that book's best friend who's a doctor, and it's kind of like a doctor romance type of thing. Very excited. Heard such great things about this. I loved her writing in Part of Your World. I know Destiny loves her writing in her book, so I'm very excited about this. Now getting into some of the fantasies that I want to read. I have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. This is the same author as Alone with You in the Ether. Really enjoyed that. I think I need to reread that. I feel like I would enjoy it more now. I was a little confused with her writing style when I read it, but I think going into it now I would absolutely love it. So I'm very excited about this because I heard this is like an enemies story that takes place in New York City, follows the theme of Romeo and Juliet. Oh no, it's rival witch families. Witches, Romeo and Juliet in New York City. This is gonna be fun. I'm so excited about this. Look at the cover too. That's a beautiful cover. I'm just so excited about that one. Okay, then I have Arch Enemies. This is the second one after Renegades. It's a trilogy, so I will have one more after this one, but I loved the way that Renegades was written and the way that it ended, so I'm so excited to go into this and see how it just unfolds. It feels like I'm watching a superhero movie when I'm reading this, so very excited. Okay, then I have the second book of the War of Lost Hearts trilogy by Carissa Broadbent. The first one is Daughter of No World. Absolutely loved that book like so much, and I've had this on my TBR since I read the first one. I just haven't gotten to this one, but I need to know how the story continues on. I need more of Max, who's the main guy in here. It's so good, but I want to read the second one like really bad. I'm also missing Carissa's writing now, so. Still on my TBR is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Again, I love her writing because I read Renegades by her and it was so good, and I've had this on my TBR before I even had Renegades, so I definitely want to read this month. I've been saying that since I got this book and everyone's saying how it's one of their favorites, and I'm like, I know guys, I have to get to it, and I will. It's a standalone too, so I have no like attachment to a series if I start this or if I read this. Okay, so these last three books are just books that I could get to. It's been on my TBR for a while. You guys are gonna be like, girl, get to it. But yeah, I do have A Court of Silver Flames still on my TBR. I know I'll get to eventually. I just have to be in the mood for it. And I think the more I think about ACOTAR and the ACOTAR series, I feel like it's not my absolute favorite series. And I think I took such a long break after finishing the third one, or was it the novella, the last one I read, that now I'm like not in the series really, and I'm like, do I want to read this? And I know I do. I love Cassie and I want to see Nesta's character development if she has one. Yeah, I know I need to read it. I can't promise when that'll be. Someone tell me to read this. Someone convince me that I need to read this. Thank you so much. If you watched my TBR video from last month, my boyfriend chose for me, I didn't read the two books I let him pick up Barnes & Noble for me. The Witcher was one of them, and it's not on my TBR anymore because I literally just felt like it was gonna put me in a slump, and it's just not the type of fantasy I think I would enjoy. But I feel like I do need to read the book because I let him choose it for me and I didn't even read it. He also chose Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I've heard great things about this, so I definitely need to figure out when I'm gonna read this. I'm keeping it on my TBR just in case I'm in the mood for it. I heard this was amazing. I also love Leigh's writing because Six of Crows. is my favorite duology ever. Keeping this on my TBR. Shout out Chris for choosing this. One day I'll get to it, hopefully soon. And then the last one is King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a, I think, vampire romance. I think it's heavy on the romance. I saw this in the romance section, not the fantasy section, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm keeping this on my TBR in case I want a heavy romance fantasy this month. I don't know how I'm feeling this month. That's why I have so much range of books. Like I have fantasy, romance fantasy, regular rom-coms, and romance. I don't have any mystery thrillers that I really want to read. The only one I want to read is Alice Feeney's new book, but that doesn't come out yet. That is all that's on my TBR for this month. Those are all the books I read in April. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you've read anything from that TBR. If you want to try to convince me to read any of these, we shall see in my May wrap up what I've gotten to. That is everything that I had to talk about today. Also, sorry about my whole little episode with the lighting. This whole time I've been looking at the little viewfinder because I see how the lighting is still not good and it's still dark and it's really bothering me. So now I'm gonna go edit this and just try my best to fix the lighting. I don't know. It's bothering me so bad. Of course, like the one day I really want to film this video, it's just complete clouds. It's probably gonna start raining soon. Is it raining? Oh my god, it is raining. I need to end this. Okay, let me know if you've read any of the books that you saw in this video, TBR or monthly wrap up. I'm so excited for this reading month. I feel like there's such a range going on here, and who knows if I'll read any of these. No, I'm gonna. I know I'm gonna. Again, join our book club if you want to read Happy Place with us. You can read it at your own pace if you've already read it, if you want people to talk to about it. Come join us. Come chat with us. I'm very excited about that. I'm nervous but excited. That's enough from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you did, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. Goodbye.